Hi, Art Seekers. We are here on Abbot Kinney Boulevard with fantastic artist Clinton Bopp right in front of his work. And I'm so excited to get to talk to you today. Thank you so much. This is really a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You are from originally New Zealand, right?
That's correct. I was born and raised in New Zealand. I have an American father and a New Zealand mother. I ended up here on a fluke, ran out of money. Real short story, but basically lived out of my car, lived on the streets for a little chunk of time. It was all a good experience, and through that I was exposed to lots of different arts. And then I started getting involved in downtown. I lived down there in Highland Park. I got involved with some muralists from East LA and Highland Park area. And that was my real big exposure to the mural scene and the street art scene that was huge in Los Angeles and has such a long history. It goes back to the 30s, from Mexican artists, David Siqueiros and people like that. So there's such a rich history of this in our city right now.
I'm so glad. So many things I want to ask you about what you just said. That just really rocks my world. But first of all, the connection to Siqueiros and all of those Mexican muralists, I really see it very strongly in your work, and I was wondering if you knew about Tropical America and
Absolutely.
That controversy and what...
Yeah, absolutely. And I've collaborated a lot with different artists through my experience of being in Los Angeles, and that was really like a lot of my inspiration came from those murals, and even taking it back to the even ancient times, back to the Renaissance, where those murals, they're all basically around for Spain, having a message,
Sure.
Having something to say. So that's what really turned me onto it. It's like, wow, these walls are talking walls. And they're telling us where we've been, where we're going, and they have so many great things to add to our city. And because they're on the street, it's wonderful because people get to see it and you're reaching the audience of everybody. When I work with murals, it's like I really like to utilize the space that it's in. Like this work behind me, we got a fence involved coming out the side of the wall. All those kind of things are factors to take into place when I'm designing it. I love to spend it, really get into the nuts and bolts of creating it as well.
And it's mixed media, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You use a street sign.
Yeah, I use everything that's at my disposal, and it's same with painting. I obviously spray paint's an amazing medium to spray in, but acrylic paint is also incredible. I love the brushwork. I love mixing those things together. And yeah, there's a sign involved here that had to stay as part, like no parking, so we built it into the mural. And
oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I just had a lot of fun with utilizing space.
Right.
Yep.
And you really let the architecture inform the design.
Yeah, it's important because it's a lot of people want to look for the perfect flat wall, which is great to have that nice flat canvas to work on. But there's so many great challenges with working with architecture. And some of them, an older mural that doesn't exist anymore, I did in Culver City, was one of those that I really utilized. It had all these different facets coming out. It was all in this weird look, and it was so much fun to paint and to design. A lot of these projects live in photography form, because of nature of like human erosion, and that's also city. Things get buffed, things get knocked down, building owners change ownership. There's all kinds of stuff there. It's such a physical process when you're working on such a huge scale. You work on ladders and perspective and all this sort of stuff. And that's what is so much fun. The process is just as fun as the end result. And then once you do it, it has its life of its own. And then you kind of set your sights on where else you can go.
Exactly. And then you release it to the world and see how it lands.
That's it.
So for this work, I was wondering what inspired you, what does the iconography mean, and how did you come up with the title Innocent Wonder?
Well, Innocent Wonder, actually someone else that was walking on the street here when I was painting it, coined that term to it. And at the time, I hadn't really had a title. And it really fit because what it was after they were talking to me about it is that it's through a child's eye, child's perspective in that state of play, which we're all as human beings, and we've all been child, and we know that little state of imagination and being in that world. And so that was the essence of it. And then it was just a balance with, like, we live in this great city, and there's so much more. It's back to the roots where there's plants, there's nature, there's a balance, there's the bees. Like the bees show up a lot in my work. That's like a very thread of things that the fabric of pollination and everything that we live with. We need all these creatures.
Regeneration.
Yeah.
Well, to me, all of the flora and fauna, because I see that as a leitmotif in your work, is very New Zealand, because you guys have a ton of outdoor space.
Absolutely, absolutely. My influence from New Zealand still carries into, I've been fortunate enough to travel a little bit throughout the world, and art transcends language barriers and cultural barriers, and that's the thing. That's why these images are so powerful.
What do you hope people will take from this mural?
And I just wanted to leave some stuff around the community that has a positive vibration to it and a positive message. And that's really what it is. People, even if they just breeze by and it's just a bright blast of color for the day, they can take that with them.
Yeah, of course.
And if they want to sit with it longer and enjoy it, then it's there too. I love details, so I get a little crazy with details. So you could literally sit down and spend some time enjoying the work and seeing and discovering things in the work.
Well, that's one of the things that I also really love about your style is that it has that immediacy. If you were to just drive by really quickly, you'd notice it and say, wow, that was awesome. But then it invites you to really linger and unpack the imagery even more.
Yeah, that is like the fun part of creating it. And there's a lot of symbolism thrown in there. And sometimes people will take away whatever they take away from it. That's the beauty of art, right? It's so subjective that someone might go, hey, that reminds me of something, and that's great. And that's part of like the whole process of sharing it to the community.
What is next for Clinton?
What is next for Clinton? Well, I'm always looking towards the future. I will be doing a solo show coming up, which is going to be more of installational elements to it, a lot of really fun things. So I'm kind of in the lab a little bit in the studio working on that. I do have more projects, murals and stuff, actually in the same location around in the alleyway. I plan to do some really great projects there, and I could just, whatever comes, I will be open and ready to jump on it.